Today, we're going to take a look at an incredible episode with an airplane that was lost in the jungle. And this airplane in particular was rehabilitated, put back together by an incredible crew, and then flown out after many years of being abandoned. It's an absolutely incredible story. Watch.
Struts.
Check.
Flaps.
Check.
Engine.
Check.
Coffee maker.
Check.
Okay. I want to set up the stage for you here. This is one of my favorite movies on the entire planet. It may be my number one movie, Madagascar 2. And in this scene, they discover this airplane in the jungle. They rebuild the airplane, and they're getting ready for takeoff. Now, there's a few things that I want to warn you about ahead of time. First of all, penguins are flightless birds, kind of like pilots in a sense. I get something else to fly, and so there's no lack of confidence on the part of these penguins who are about to attempt to fly this airplane. I applaud that because pilots need a lot of confidence. But there's one thing from a safety perspective that you just saw here, which is this: you can't bring scissors on an airplane. I don't care how bad the airplane is. I don't care what terrible situation it's in. I don't care if it's not ready to fly. You can't have scissors on an airplane. We all know why, because if you're running with the scissors and you were to trip, you could put an eye out or even worse. So let's just get that straight before we jump into the rest of the video. Let's watch what happens next.
That's got to be the second biggest slingshot I've ever seen. But it's gonna have to do.
Attention, this is your captain speaking.
In the event of a water emergency, place the vest over your head, then kiss your goodbye.
Okay, so I'm not advocating bad language, but I am saying that the flight attendant probably needs to work on their presentation for the safety briefing prior to the takeoff. This whole situation is a little bit different, and you can see here that they've attached the airplane to what the pilot describes as the second largest slingshot he's ever seen. Now, I'd like to see the first largest because this is a huge slingshot. This harkens back to my Navy days and shooting airplanes off of an aircraft carrier, very much like a slingshot. You got to get that extra momentum going before you can achieve flight. You can't just do it by pushing the power up. It's a combination of both. You're going to see that in action right here. Clearly, the engineer is pushing up power on both engines while they prepare the slingshot to get them the necessary velocity to have a successful launch. Let's see if they launch successfully.
In case of a loss in cabin pressure, place the mask over your face to hide your terrified expression from the other passengers.
Excuse me, miss. Are these supposed to be attached to my seat?
No, sir.
Okay, so a couple things going on here. In this particular situation, you might want to cover your face to hide your expression from the other passengers. Probably not part of a normal safety brief, but look at what this one passenger does. They're sitting in a seat, and the seatbelt's not attached to the seat. This goes back to if you see something, say something. So if you're on your next flight and you see something that doesn't look right, call the flight attendant over, say, hey, is this appropriate? Is this right? If it's not, they'll go ahead and reseat you to a seat that does have a working seatbelt. Not that it's going to make a lot of difference on this flight.
Okay, boys, launch.
Hey. On. On.
Okay, the launch sequence has been set in motion. Everybody gets the signal, one after another. All these things come to bear, and off the deck they go. Here comes the last part of it, and off they go into flight. Yes! Success! All right, I have to say that this is my favorite scene in any movie of all time. I've seen this movie 100 times, and every time I see the movie and I watch the airplane flip into the jungle and then fly out, I laugh every time. Just ask my kids. But you know what? Here they are. They're achieving flight. The pilots have saved the day. Let's see how the rest of the flight goes. Okay, one of the rules of flight is this: if your engine's on fire, you probably need to bring it in for a landing. These guys are not regarding that rule. And the other one is you need to avoid thunderstorm activity by at least 25 miles. 25 miles is the rule. These guys clearly have not been trained properly in this. As watch what happens next.
Runway! Whoa. Hey, Mort.
But it's just Mort. He's going to wave up. There goes Mort. Okay, so what's going on here as he's going through the thunderstorm? He looks out over the wing. That is an homage to an old William Shatner episode where he was guest starring on The Twilight Zone back in the day. Go check it out. It's a very famous scene from that series where he looks out the wing and he sees basically a gremlin out on the wing. And every time he brings somebody over to take a look, they don't see it. Well, we know who it is. It's Mort. Now, here's the next thing. Let's watch this next scene because this is important for us to pay attention to.
Did you see that? That's so funny. Oh, I like laughing. It's such a nice experience.
Okay, there's in-flight entertainment on most every modern flight, and I love the movies. I always tell the people on my flight, I go, hey, look, you're going to get an hour or two to watch a movie that you probably wouldn't have paid to go see at the theater, but it's right there in front of you. Why not? It's no extra charge. I would avoid, however, the movies of airplanes crashing. Now, you say, do they allow those movies on the airplane? Yeah, there are movies out there where there's crashes in them. You can watch them, but it's as my British friends would say, it's in frightfully bad taste, old chap.
Whoa. Sorry, do you mind going back? This is first class. It's nothing personal. It's just that we're better than you.
Okay, so you've always wondered that when you board the airplane, why in the world do they make you walk through first class on your way to your little narrow coach seat in the back of the airplane, right? And you get to see the people getting their drinks served to them in their big old wide seats that lay flat and all that. And you're like, wow, why do they make us do this? Why can't we like come in a different place so I don't have to be subjected to all of this? And do those people in first class think that they're better than the rest of us? And the answer now is yes, they do. It's definitive. We've got the answer.
Hey, Maurice, I'm open. Hit me.
Is that Vivaldi?
Hey, in-flight slave.
Can I help you, Mr. Mankiewicz?
Bring me my nuts on a silver platter.
We just wanted to check on the drinks we ordered.
So sorry, been a little backed up.
I guess I'll go back to...
Hey, what happened to your body? You're
our
freaking
section.
me out. Can you please go over there, please? Thank you very much. Whatever happened to the separation of the classes?
Yes, whatever happened to the separation of the classes? And by the way, there's no chandeliers in first class, just to let you know.
We'll go out for pineapple, my little boobly-headed boobly-boo.
Skipper, look.
Analysis.
It looks like a small incandescent bulb, designed to indicate something out of the ordinary, like a malfunction.
I find it pretty and somewhat hypnotic.
That too, sir.
Right. Rico. Manual.
Okay, let's talk about what's going on here in this scene. So they're flying along. They've come through the thunderstorm unscathed, and they get out and they're in clear skies. And this red light starts to come on, and that happens quite often in flight. You'll get an indicating light that says something is wrong. It's pointing you to a more serious issue. I like the crew coordination here. The pilot who first sees it, the pilot monitoring, says something, points it out to the captain. The captain now calls for the checklist, and in this case, it's the manual. What's he going to do with the manual? Well, he's going to consult the manual, and he's going to solve the problem. Watch what he does.
Problemo solved.
Sir, we may be out of fuel.
What makes you think that?
We've lost engine 1. And engine 2 is no longer on fire.
Buckle up, boys.
Okay, this is a real inconsistency in this movie. Now, I know many of you are thinking, hey, it's a cartoon. They need to be realistic in this thing, all right? First of all, you got the engines wrong. Number 1 engine is on the left side. That would be the one that was burning originally. The number 2 engine is always on the right side. I think when they put this together, they didn't consult a real pilot on this one. He did put out the light, and I have to say, back in my Navy days when I flew an older airplane, not that we ever tried to extinguish a light, but there was a way to tap on the light sometimes to get it to go out. You didn't want it staring at you the whole flight. You were well aware that there was a problem, and you had already solved the problem, but the light would stay on. There were other times, however, when maybe the bulb was a little loose, and you would tap on it, and it would light up, and you'd go, oh, I wonder how long that's been lit. and then you'd go and solve the problem. It's the exact opposite problem of what they've got here. But now they know that there's a problem. They've run out of gas. Their engines are no longer running. They're still gliding. Let's see what happens next.
Don't look dull. This might get hairy. Attention! This is your captain speaking. I've got good news and bad news. The good news is we'll be landing immediately. Bad news is we're crash landing.
Okay, so the captain needs to make a PA and address the situation to the passengers. Say, all right, I always do that. Say, hey, folks, here's what's going on. You know, we're going to be touching down in about 20 minutes. I think he needs to work on his technique a little bit. He does have that calm, soothing voice, however, as he tells them that they're going to be crash landing. That's a word that really probably a better choice of words than crash in an airplane. However, you might ask a question, you know, why do all pilots have that soothing, calm voice when they get over the PA? Well, in fact, my friends, that's how you get hired originally as a pilot. When I went to the Navy, they didn't give me a battery of tests. They didn't want to know if I could fly an airplane. They would teach me all that stuff afterwards. The very first thing that they did with me was sit me down with a script and say, just go ahead and read this as though you were reading it to passengers on an airplane. And I had that calm, soothing, satisfying voice. And I remember the guys sitting there in the room, they all smiled and went, this guy is our guy. He's going to make a great airline pilot someday.
When it comes to air travel, we know you have no choice whatsoever. But thanks again for choosing Air Penguin.
It's all coming apart now. It is more fun when you put your hands up.
My goodness, doll, you're shaking like a leaf. Rico, you've had your fun. Pull up. You down.
Okay, I love how the captain takes control here. He's letting everybody else do their job, but he lets it go just so far. And then he gets to that point where he's like, okay, this is enough. Basically, my aircraft, he says to Rico, Rico, you've had your fun. Time to get serious now. Pull up. I'm not sure an airplane can go from a complete nosedive into the ground in a 90-degree turn like that. But it does in this case. And now they're in a nice glide slope to touch down. Here's something that happens next that I wouldn't recommend.
Gently now, you just want to kiss the ground. Just a little peck.
Okay, now let's take a look at the landing gear here. I honestly wouldn't get in an airplane that had wooden landing gear. If you notice, it's not exactly completely round. It's not going to cushion the blow like rubber tires are. I'm not sure who put all of this together or who did the pre-flight of this airplane. This is going to be a problem, I think, for them. But again, they're in a good spot. He's telling them, he's walking them through the landing. These guys haven't had a lot of experience, but obviously the captain has. So he's going to say, you need to just touch the earth like you're kissing your sister.
Smooch like you're kissing your sister. I said kiss it. Now just a little break. Just a touch. A little whisper. I believe that's checkmate.
Off they go. Now, right here, I want to stop the film because many of you have been thinking, I wonder what kind of airplane that is. Was that an old DC-3? What is that airplane? I believe it's a Cirrus, and here's why I think it's a Cirrus. Because Cirrus airplanes have an emergency parachute attached to the top of the airplane. And if all goes wrong and they lose their engines and they can't fly and they've ripped both wings off, and they don't have a tail anymore and they're plummeting to their death, they can hit the big button and they can activate the parachute and the airplane will actually float to the ground. And clearly this is an early version of a Cirrus, but it works great. Watch.
Commence emergency landing procedure. Flaps up. Deploy.
There's the parachute. Look at this. Works great. And you know what? It's a satisfactory outcome at the end of it. In fact, there's one passenger that sleeps through the entire thing. Not bad, after all. Well, there it is, my friends. My analysis of the airplane flight and the subsequent crash landing in Madagascar 2. We've analyzed it, we've taken a look at it, and we realized it's a Cirrus airplane. Fortunately, they had those parachutes at the end, and they had a good outcome. So now you know. I'm Captain Steeeve. Fly safe.